You can see if we came close of what we did. Let's see. There we go. I think we did pretty awesome. So again, that gloss coat is going to make this thing pop.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Motion RC. I'm James, and today we have a very special video for you guys. Now I know right off the bat, you're probably seeing, whoa, this video is an hour long, and it doesn't matter how long this video is. This video is designed to help everybody who ever wanted to customize their own livery on any model, not just an L39, but basically any model. The tips that are going to be provided in this video should help you guys out. This is the type of video you can put on in the background while you're doing it, and hopefully it's going to give you guys ideas, give you tips. Obviously there's millions of ways to do this. There's no right way or wrong way. As long as the plane aircraft turns out the way you want it, then whatever way you do it is going to be right. This is just one way to help you out, and it comes from a guy who, over the past year or so, since my involvement with Motion, I started working for Motion, we've seen so much work come out of this guy's house and his airfield, as far as pictures and videos and customized liveries. I mean, you could see here some of these pictures. He's done numerous versions of the F4, and so on and so forth. So when we release the L39, obviously, guys, there's a million liveries that a plane can come in. We decided to go with this livery, and we had an idea that some people will like it and some people won't. Just like the F4, when we released it in camo, a lot of people wanted gray, and so on and so forth. It goes on and on. But the beauty is you can do it yourself. You can definitely go to places like Home Depot and Lowe's and Michael's and Hobby Lobby and get the paints and get the supplies that you need, and you can put any livery you want on it with the help of Cali Graphics, of course. So what I did was, with the L39, I commissioned one out to go to Jeremy Solt, who you guys might have seen. If you follow our Motion RC fan media pages, you've probably seen this guy's work. I've shared a lot of his pictures in our emails. He's had pictures on our product pages because he just does such exceptional stuff. And obviously a guy like Alpha, who helps design these things, the people at Freewing, they love to see all of this stuff and all the hard work and effort that goes into it. We don't design planes and aircraft to not enjoy our customers enjoying them. So I asked Jeremy, hey man, if you have a camera, would you do this? Would you show people the tools you use? Would you go through the steps? So he did his very best. He did a lot of work, and I sat there and watched the whole thing now a couple times, having to edit it, and I tried to cut out all the minutia that you wouldn't need to see, but what I left in there is the stuff that I think you guys will really enjoy. So enough of me talking. The video is going to be already long enough. I'm going to send it out to Syracuse, Utah for Jeremy Solt. And Jeremy, take it away. And thank you so much.
Hello everybody, Jeremy Solt here, bringing to you a short video of me customizing my L39, brought to you by Freewing Models and available for purchase at Motion RC. This aircraft, just to talk a little bit about it, I'm just absolutely excited about this one. This one is a knockout of the park. Home run on this one. This aircraft has taken the 80mm series to that next level. To tell you a little bit about some of the aircraft that I have found that has taken it to that next level is that if you've owned any of these 80mm aircraft, you've never seen any LED lighting on any of these airplanes. And Freewing has done that for you. Automatically in there, great. This thing is perfect. It's got marking lights on both wing tips, and it's got landing lights in the very, very tips of these tip takes. So that when your gear goes up, they go out. When they come down, they're back on. So absolutely takes it to the next level. One of the other things that I like about this aircraft is that the inside cockpit area they have lined with plastic to help prevent with some of that heat warping that's going on with the insides, and it turns into that alligator skin, which is never good. Now, the other things that I love about this airplane is I've already gotten this out and flown it, And this plane is amazing. The thing's got incredible climb, incredible speed, and it slows down for the softest landings that you can imagine. I've owned almost every single one of these products made by Freewing and Motion RC, and this airplane is the best trainer type custom, not custom, but scale jet that you can get out there. I think this thing is a knockout of the park. The thing's awesome. You can fly it slow, you can fly it fast, and you're going to enjoy the heck out of it because you can see it now with lights too. So the other thing is that I like about it is you have so many options to be able to customize the liveries of them, and like I did on this. So when I customized this aircraft, it took me 3 days, but I only spent about 11 hours total in customizing it. So I got it done essentially in the weekend that I had. And I'm ready to get this thing out and fly it. Now, to talk to you a little bit about, just real quick, I'm going to show you some of the items that I used in making this product into what it is. And so I'm a firm believer in using spray paints a lot. And the paints I use are available at most hardware stores. And it is this Rust-Oleum double coat. It is super. You can just put it on anything and it does a really good job. So just to label off the colors that I use, for the tip tanks I use sun gloss yellow. For the bottom, the belly, I used a gloss wintry gray. For my leading edges, I used a metallic aluminum. For the glare areas, I used a semi-gloss black. I used a high gloss white for my landing gear struts. I used a white primer on the whole aircraft, and then to seal the deal of the whole painting, I used a fast-drying polyurethane in the clear gloss to cover everything up. Now, the aircraft was actually painted, all the detail, with airbrush. So I got this airbrush machine from Harbor Freight, about 60 bucks. You're gonna like it. Don't worry about the quality of it. It does a good enough job. The paints I used is aloe for the light color, and I used a black forest green for the dark color, and it's got about 8 coatings on the top of this to get the darkness that I wanted on there. The paint is available at any of your local craft stores. It's any acrylic you want, put it in there, mix it into your container at about 50-50 ratio. Again, adjust it for whatever you feel your needs are of your airbrush, okay? Other things that I used frog tape. Frog tape is your friend. Frog tape tries its best to prevent peeling up of your paint. So I only had one spot that came up on this when I peeled my paint. And what I did is I ended up using Post-it notes, thanks to RC Geek, for the advice on that. And all you do is you just use your Post-it notes and square it off, and then you just dab it in with a paintbrush. The other thing that I use is I use blue paper towels, got them a little bit wet, pulled the moisture out, and laid it around my intakes to be able to get my intakes lines as good as I did. So, last thing, always use a sharp razor blade for all of your detailing. Start off with a sharp one, throughout your builds, change it out, and you'll save yourself a lot of heartache. And then the final thing that I want to say is Cali Graphics. She's who knocked out the decals on this thing. She threw it out there super fast just for this video, and I want to say thank you, Cali, for that. So hopefully you're watching, and I appreciate that. So if you need decals, Cali's the place to go. If you need jets, Motion RC is where it's at. So stay tuned for the rest of the build video. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks again. All right, everybody, welcome back. New day here in Syracuse, Utah. I got the L39 here. We are ready to start getting it prepped for the initial phases of getting it painted. the first things that we're going to end up needing to do on here is that we're going to separate the canopy area. We're going to need to tape off all of the clear, and then we're going to cut the edging so that it leaves only the clear covered. We're going to do that in this video. We're going to do little sections, so I'm going to start showing you what to do a little bit, and then I'm going to stop and then continue on with the next phase whenever I do something new. So we're going to do that. So what we're going to use frog tape on that. The other thing that we're going to end up needing to do is, I haven't decided yet, but we're either going to take the landing gear off of their actual retracts, or we're just going to isolate and cover. What I want to do eventually is to take these off and paint them white like they should be. So I haven't decided whether or not to take them off or just tape them off, but we'll decide that here shortly. The other big factor is I was going to end up using spray paint for the whole process, but I've changed my mind on there. And actually what I'm going to end up using is airbrushing. Airbrushing is going to provide a more subtle layout of the paint. That way it kind of blends in a little bit and looks a little bit better. So a little bit of what I'm going to end up using is if you have the convenience of picking up a pump from Harbor Freight, this is the central pneumatic pump. Super simple, quick little pump setup that works for my airbrush needs. It comes with the hose, it comes with the actual paint accessories, and then it comes with a really small bottle. But for what I use it for when I airbrush is I use a lot more paint. I like to make sure I have enough, more to cover instead of less to cover, and remixing. I like to make sure I keep the same consistency with my paints. So I ordered these bottles. These are, I believe they're 2-ounce bottles. Ordered them off of Amazon.com. It was like 10 bucks, and I got 10 or 12 of them at a time. Great little bottles. If you can obtain those, you will enjoy using those more than the itty-bitty bottles. One of the other things that I did is I went out to my local store. It was actually called Hobby Lobby at the time, so I went and I got just some acrylic paint to match the color schemes that I'm going to do. You can get this acrylic paint anywhere at any of your local, either Walmart, you can get them from any of your craft stores or whatnot. But anyway, it's just, you know, a little 2-ounce bottle of paint. But what we're going to do is, and I'll show you more when we actually do the painting, but we're going to mix it with water just to water it down so that it actually flows better through the little spray nozzle of your airbrush. But I will show you all that in a little while, but just so that you have an idea of what we're going to end up using, we're going to use frog tape, we're going to use acrylic paint, and we're going to use water to mix our stuff up, our paint up to the right consistency. And then an airbrush system. Again, I got this from Harbor Freight. It was about 60 bucks, so you really can't beat that. Same original air nozzle I've had, and I've done a lot of detailing or weathering on a lot of my airplanes. So, that being said, I'm going to quickly show you how I mask off canopies. I'll show you a little bit of it, and then we're going to stop it just so you're not watching a 40-minute video. So, alright, plan to move on. So, jump into it. So what I like to do is I like to try and hit all the easy areas first. So if it's a straight line, you're going to love to do straight lines first and then figure out how to do the hard stuff. So I just do little sections at a time. And what I do is I just lay it down, follow the contour, And since you are trying to make it to where you don't see any of the previous coloring, it's always better to show just a slight little itty bit of the clear canopy when you're taking these off. Just so when you're spraying the paint over, you want to make sure that it fills just a little slight little bit of the clear, and that way you don't see the previous paint scheme on there. So just laying it down a piece at a time. You don't need to worry too much about this peeling up paint or anything like that in the end result, as if you were using it on like a wing or whatnot. Canopies, let it stick the best you possibly can. You don't want to have any bleeding going on underneath, but if it does, don't worry, because that's what a razor blade is for, and you just kind of softly scrape away at where the paint does go through, and you can get that off pretty dang easy. So what I'm doing is I'm using my fingernail to just press the paint down into the actual little contoured edge of the canopy. I don't know if you can see that well, but I'm doing the best what I can with the GoPro. If you can't see it, just take it for what I'm saying. You got a little bit of an edge, and you can follow that edge all the way down through the paint. So again, you always use a brand new tip on your razor blades, because that will prevent a lot of problems in the long run. So you're just going to freehand the angles you want and peel it off, just like that. Okay? So what you do is you do everything you can, all your edges, and then you just fill it back over, covering up all the other areas. For the front canopy, it's going to be a little hard. You're probably going to have to do a piece that goes straight, and then another one that goes straight down, and then another one goes straight down, and then when you got all 3 or 4, however many pieces it ends up taking, make sure you do that edge with your fingernail again, and then you can cut it with as one solid piece, equaling just your front canopy covered. So there you go. Alright everybody, so I'm back, and what I've done so far is I've gotten some things done. So what I did is, so I've got the canopy completely taped off. Seals, the edges are sealed up pretty good and all that, so as you can see, the only thing left is the white area that we want to cover up when we customize the actual airplane. One of the other things I've done is I've removed the tanks. Okay, we're going to paint those separately. The other thing that I did is I pulled off one of the pylons to experiment, since this is a first time with this airplane. And what I've done is I've removed the lens on the front and the lens on the side. The reason why I did that was it's going to make it easier to paint, and I also don't want to have any of the blue that you can see on this front edge showing through the finished product. Okay, so I pulled that off, and I've actually taped off the lenses just so I don't get any overspray or anything. I don't normally paint in this room, but we're going to do that for this sake. So we're good to go on here. So this tank is actually going to become yellow when all said and done. So, so I'm going to pull the other one off here in a minute. The other thing that I've done is I've taken off the landing gear doors. Okay, we're going to paint those separately also. What I'm going to recommend you do is to actually take off the main landing gear struts off of the retracts. Reason why is you want less problems in the end product by undoing or getting any overspray on your wheels. It's just never fun. However, one of the ways that I like to paint is I like to hang the aircraft from the nose landing gear, paint it vertical so that I can see everything as I'm going, and I spray paint up and down on there. Now when I'm talking about spray painting, I'm talking about the primer that I want to apply on the exterior of the aircraft so that everything that we do has a fresh, clean surface that it'll cling to and not come off. Again, I'm going to end up using the Rust-Oleum double coat. I'm going to use white because the white is going to pop the paint. It's going to make it show more visibility and it's going to look better rather than trying to go over a darker color like a gray or whatnot. So again, I'm going to take this one off. I'm going to quickly show you what I'm going to do to it. I already have the screws out. I'm going to re-disconnect. And so what I did is I just ran my finger behind the plastic. Okay, if you can tell, I'll show you both the cameras. It's got that blue on there, so we don't want that blue. We want to get rid of that blue. And so you're going to just slowly apply pressure on it to get it to separate. Again, it's just got the rubber cement glue in there that we love. And so with my fingernail, I'm just going to try and clear all this blue just so we don't see it anywhere. I mean, you can keep a little bit on there because it's still going to be kind of jammed up inside the tank. But the more you get off, the better off it's going to be. So there we go. So we got that one there too. This side one here was quite the bugger to get off. So what I ended up doing on that is I ended up running the razor blade around the edge all the way down because it's got that rubber cement glue in there too. But don't worry, there's nothing really behind it as you're going through. I mean, you just have the wire in there, but it shouldn't have a problem getting snagged. If you can run it around it, by run it, I mean run the razor blade around it, it should just pop out pretty easy at that point. Feel it wiggling. I still got a little bit of glue on there, it seems. So I'm just going to kind of pry it from the behind. And there we go. So there we go. Lenses are out. Again, I'm going to try and remove the glue around the sides of it. Again, in your final product, you don't want to see the majority of that. And also remember, we're trying to keep this stuff as quick as we can, do as limited as what we can, so that we don't have any problems when the life expectancy of the airplane goes up. So what I'm going to do now is all these connections, you got to make sure that you don't get any paint on those. You don't want that. So just put a little bit of tape around them. Okay, just so that they don't have any problems with connectivity. Again, you'll get back to connecting them up in the long run. Okay, so looking around, the only things that I've seen that needed to be covered are the lights, which all 4 of them are pulled out. We got our canopy done. And now the only other thing that I like to make sure that I don't get any paint in is I try to prevent any paint from getting into the actual retract itself. It doesn't hurt it if it really does, but I don't like to. It's just, to me, if I can put just a piece of tape right over that retract area, it seems like it just takes just 2 more seconds, and now you don't have any paint going into that area and getting onto your worm gear, which is never good. But it doesn't stop it all the time, but you just don't want to press your chances with it. So I like to try and prevent a little bit there. It's just a little bit of tape there. I'm not going to cover up the servos because I want to make sure that they're covered. Okay. The other thing I'm going to do is, because I'm going to use this for an anchor, potentially use it for an anchor, I want to have a spot that I can grab if I need to. I'm going to run tape all the way around the strut, because I want to make sure that it stays nice and pristine, because in the end we're going to be painting this white, and I just don't want any excess paint or anything that can deter in the final product of what we're trying to accomplish here. Okay, one other thing here is this retract itself for the door. It's this little pressure switch. And you can't really see it too much, so I apologize on there. But anyway, I'm going to try and prevent just a little bit of paint from going and getting in that. Since this is a new design, I've never seen this before, I just want to make sure that I'm not going to create an issue with just getting overspray into that area. So I'm just going to try and put just a little piece of tape there just to help with that. Okay? Alright, so the next step is we're going to primer this aircraft. So we're going to flip it back over. We're going to get everything that we can covered. Oh, actually, I'm going to try and see about getting a couple pieces of tape inside this intake area so that I can keep that white, fresh look of the intakes in there. So whenever you can achieve that, that just adds just that little bit extra solid scale look to it. So I'm going to try and squish some of this tape right up in there. So it's not easy to do. But when you do, it just adds that fine little touch of extra that a lot of us scale modeler guys will try to accomplish. Never fun. All right, good enough. Okay, all right, so now we got our little bit of detail for our intakes. We've got our canopy going over. So again, we're going to try and re-accomplish this black portion after we do our final thing. A lot of people are really worried about the decals and all there. With the way that these are applied, they really don't have that much of an issue at all. You really can't even tell when you're all finally said and done. One of the other things I want to do before I start painting, you always want to have your flaps extended out, almost to the furthest that you can get them. The reason why is you want to make sure it gets up on this inside crack area. Okay, you want to do that. And I try to tilt my rudder just a slight little bit too, just so that it can get inside the uppers and all that too. So, you know, we can do that with the elevators. Just make sure that when you do that, you end up getting the upper and lower hinge area, so you're not going to see up and down just changing the weird directions. Okay. All right, so I'm going to stop the video right here and start a new one, and we're going to prime the airplane. Okay. All right, guys. So, ooh, that's a little bright. We're going to go over here, change the direction. So what happened was I did a video on this where my son was holding the camera, and he did the whole reverse on-off thing. So on was off, off was on. Anyway, so to explain what I did, essentially all I did was I lined up my airplane and I spray painted this Rust-Oleum double coat primer. Sorry, kind of backlit. Anyway, so I sprayed that all over the entire airplane, and so I hit all the cracks, all the nooks, all the crannies, whatnot, just to get an even coat on the airplane, so that any product that we put on there will equal a better adhesion to the airplane. I'm not saying you have to use a primer. I do use a primer. I have used it without a primer. It all works the same. I did run into a couple issues where I tried painting without a primer, and for some reason there was some type of oil on the airplane, and it kind of did this weird alligator skin to where the paint did not want to adhere to it. So ever since then I use a primer. So it's up to you whether or not you want to or not. So again, all I did was cover the entire airplane with white. You don't need to go heavy on it because you're going to be covering it with other paint. So the other thing that I did is I painted the landing gear doors, so you can see them. They are just white on both sides. I'm going to leave the backside white because inside the door wells they usually leave white. The other thing that I did, if you can see over here, I painted the tip tanks, and so the tip tanks themselves, they are now white also. They're going to become their own color in the end also. So I've let this dry now for about 2 to 3 hours. Now I'm going to do the next step. The next step for this project is the belly of the airplane is actually going to be gray, and I already talked a little bit about it. So this is the Rust-Oleum double coat. It is winter gray is the color, and so all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit everything on this airplane on the bottom side. The bottom of the airplane will actually have a line that goes directly with the bottom of the wings, and so you want to cover a little bit above that, but obviously you don't want to saturate the whole airplane because you're adding unnecessary weight. So that being said, we're going to get this plane all gray and dirty. So here we go. So I like to spray fairly light coats, but then I go back over and just make sure that I fill all the gaps. I'm also hitting up the pylons. Okay, so that they are all the same color too. So I'm going to wait to do this wingtip because I'm going to try and hold it. So I'm just going to hit what I can so I don't end up having a gray schemed body. But again, we're hitting everything up that we can gray for that bottom of the airplane. So again, getting the gear door all nice. And I'm going a little bit higher than where the line really will be, only because, again, I want to be able to lay the paint, or the tape that I have, the frog tape. I want to lay the frog tape down and create a nice barrier line so that when I do the airbrushing of the two-tones I'm going to do on this, that it's going to look all crisp and clean. Look at that. It's just looking pretty. Alright, so I'm going to try and turn this wire. So these wires that I'm using up here, essentially it's just electrical wiring for a house. So I don't have any special hooks or anything. It's just whatever I could find to get the job done. So again, I think I mentioned it before, you want to make sure you hit these back edges of everything and all the little corners. So if you can see that, so the corners here, all that. Last thing you want is to have to go back because you missed something. I'm painting the wheel wells the same gray, but I'm gonna, in the end, I'm going to paper towel, wet paper towel, cut it out, and paint these white when we're done with that. So there we go. Looks like we got some nice gray going on, hitting all the edges. Again, look from every angle you can, because it's easier to get it now than do it later. Again, for the to paint, do it once and then be done with it. So there's our gray. So if you have any questions, feel free to comment. Thanks. All right, welcome back. So it's been several hours now since I've painted the L39 now with the bottom gray. Again, a rattle can, just nice even coats to equal everything that is going to need to be gray. So the next step in this process is frog tape. Okay, frog tape itself, ready to go. So what we're going to do is, the airplane itself has lines throughout the whole thing. So I tried to hit enough area to cover where we want the lines to be and where we don't want anything else to go. So again, we're going to be putting it on the actual aircraft side where the gray, you want the line to be. Alright, so started on that side. Tear that off. So I'm not really worried about the nose so much because the nose is going to be yellow. But utilize the tape wherever you can so that you don't run out of it. I'm going to go a little bit higher on this side. Okay, so I'm going to pull the flaps back down now, just a little bit, so that we can make sure that we're covering the area we want covered. So I've got that side covered. Now I'm going to come over to do this side so you can see that. So again, I'm going from the bottom of this point right here. I'm going to go all the way to follow this line right here. So my reason for liking the frog tape is it seems to come off pretty easy when it's all said and done without peeling much. So again, I don't like to really press down on the tape because that just gives it more adhering, and you don't want to do that because that's just going to potentially cause you some more problems. So again, I'm just following the leading edge lines all the way around the airplane. Skip that for a second until I can do this. Again, I don't really care too much about the edge of the wingtip because it is going to end up being ultimately covered. So all we're trying to do is create a little drape, essentially, so that when I'm spraying the top of the airplane, it's not going to end up overspraying as much to areas it shouldn't. So just going around everything. All right, so with this area right here that you can see, we're going to need to be spraying it with an airbrush. So the dilemma is this area here is going to need to get a little bit more coverage, and this area here is going to need to get a lot more coverage too. So, so what I'm going to do with that is blue paper towel. Okay, it's a quick way of getting what you want to cover. and not affect too much. So you just peel it off to where you want it. Try and get the shape of what you want as close as you can. And then just stick it in the tape area where you already have the tape. And then it creates that seal of overspray. So again, that's all you're trying to accomplish, is that seal, just to prevent any overspray. So again, since we already got one piece of tape in there, we're just going to hit it up with another one. We don't care about the edge there, not much, but if you really feel like you want to, just tape it on up. Aircraft is taped, and now it is ready for some airbrushing. So I'm getting excited about that. I like airbrushing, and we'll continue with that. So I'm gonna start the next little clip. All right, guys, a little close up of me. I apologize. So you know, this is the intention of this bird. So we're gonna try and get that fairly close to that. So now you know what I mean by the yellow tips and the nose and all that fun stuff. So what we're gonna do when you're doing this stuff, your best bet is to always start with a lighter color first. And so what do you do with that? Well, what you do is you hit the airplane up all in the light color first, and then you do the darker colors afterwards, so that it's easier to actually do some cover up versus makeup or cover over darks and having to apply a whole bunch of light colors on there. So again, that is what the intent is. And so back to the actual aircraft now. We're gonna show you how we want to do all that cover up and whatnot. So I've got the paint, and so I've got my airbrush down here, I've got my paint. We are powered on, I believe. Okay, so yep, we are powered on, we're good to go. I'm going to take this hose up here just so that it ends up not falling and pulling and all that. Last thing you want when you're painting is the hose to be doing whatever it wants to do. So we're going to hit that up real quick, just a couple pieces of tape. Okay, so I've got my canisters here of water. One of them is your clearing, so always have a clearing one ready to go. I've got my paints, so I've got my dark paints here. Again, this is picked up at the local store. And then I've got my light one here. So these colors, this one is actually aloe, and this one is called Black Forest Green. So really, really dark green. So last thing we want to do is have to go back over that color. So what I'm going to do is, it's been a minute since I've actually done some of this acrylic paint and stuff. So if I remember right, the good mixture is about half of one of these bottles to half paint. But we will see how that goes, and if not, you can always add more water on there, dump it out, pour more, and find your right mixture for your nozzle. You don't want to have so much moisture in there to where it's just pouring out and really wet. That'll end up not doing you any good. So you got to find that happy medium on there. So again, what I'm doing is, if I can get through their child-proof seal. I'm a child sometimes, so it might be hard to do that. But anyway, so again, I'm going to fill it up. So we're going to squeeze in to about right there. You want to leave a little bit on the top. You see the extra amount? That is in case you need to add water. So if you don't give yourself enough room for the water to go back out of it, or to be able to add water into it, then you're just setting yourself up for some failure. So again, just shake it up as much as you can. You're going to get bubbles in it. Doesn't matter. Ideally, the thicker the paint is, you won't see that many bubbles, but the consistency feels about right when it's a little bit little bit less than what you would imagine like Pepto-Bismol being like, or that kind of consistency. If it's thicker than that or that consistency, it will not go through your airbrush, and you will fight it the entire time. So what we're going to do is, I really need to try and find another photo of this other side, unless I just start with this side. But what we're going to do is we're going to try and hit majority of the airplane with this green. So it looks like that the tail there, the tail section, is going to end up, or sorry, the tip of the wing is going to be this green. So what I'm doing now is I'm just trying to make sure I got the right consistency for my spray, because I want it to come out fairly thick, but I don't want it to be puddling. So we're going to go with, hit this up, and so it's better to do light coats over distances than it is to go heavy over little areas. The reason why that is, it's airbrush, it's water, it's paint and water. The last thing you want to do is start clumping it up. So you're going to hit majority of the areas that you want to try and do your edging, but you don't want to go too thick. Okay? So I'm just lightly doing a random pattern. I'm not doing any lines, because lines end up being thicker than where you usually want. Okay, so we're going to make sure we get down to the bottom there. Some nice light coating for a start. Looks like this goes all the way around the intake, kind of down the front here, up over the canopy a little bit. Alright guys, so here's what I got going on is that, turn off the fan real quick. So I finished up the green, the light green. So if you can see, looks pretty awesome. So we're just letting it set to get completely dry. Okay. So now we're going to let it get completely dry, but meanwhile what we're going to do is we're going to get the rest of this going. So again, we got our water here. That mixture seemed to do really good. And so I'm going to take the water back down to about half. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use the dark green. Again, child-proof. Whatever, we're just going to unscrew it that way. So a little bit there we go. A little bit extra in case we need to add more water. Hold the holes. Shake it up. All right, okay. There we go. So after I ended up doing this light green, I ended up using the water to clear out the machine. So you can see it all right there. And so we're just spraying out everything. Now we're going to connect up to the new one. And that is some green of green. So that's kind of coming out kind of thick. So I want to move that in just a little bit. And we got a leaking going on out of there, so I'm going to grab a little bit of a piece of this paper towel. Last thing you want after you've already done some of the product, you want to make sure that you're not going to affect it. So, alright, here we go. green might not be the right green. It seems like that is a little bit more wet than I want. I'm going to want to put more of that paint in here. Thicken it up. Pull it off the bottle. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and prevent that edge from soaking up that paint. We're going to thicker. Again, we're going to put that back on. We're going to find our sweet spot of what we want. We're just going to lightly spray all the area we want. We'll get this area right up here dry and we'll hit that up again. And I'm not liking this I'm not liking this this green. It is a little bit lighter than what I want. So I'm going to try and get some black and make this darker. Some darker attributes, because this is kind of Christmas greeny and that's not what I want. That's looking a little bit better. A little bit darker. Alright, so essentially I'm just going to keep applying more and more coats until I get the finished product of what I want, where I'm going to have some nice thick lines of the dark and nice thick on the tan, the tannish, greenish. So anyway, rather than keep you here for the whole moment, we're going to turn it off and I'll show you the final product whenever we're done. Alright guys, so I've got both colors added to the aircraft. Now the only thing we've got to do now is we've got to do the yellow tips, and then I'm going to do some silvering around the leading edges of the intakes here, and then the tip tanks and the tips, all those tips. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the reveal in regards to peeling the paint, or sorry, peeling the tape. It's getting a little late here, it's 10 o'clock. And so what I'm going to do is slowly peel this tape, and hopefully it ends up doing what we wanted to do, since this is the better of the tapes, called frog tape. What I find the best is to peel it onto itself, and you get less pull off. Get rid of this towel that we had on there. There is our leading edge, peeling off the bottom here, so on and so forth. So with that being said, I'm going to stop talking so that we can fast forward this and for this process. Look at that edge. I'm gonna bring this down so you can see. Look at that edge. Got a little bit of paint that came out there. Missed a little bit on the back right there where it was taped up. But we can hit that up with a paintbrush in the end. Well, anyway, what do you think? I think the thing looks pretty awesome. So, pretty close to that. Once we get the gloss coat on there, it should end up doing pretty good. So, there we go. All right. So now, what the next step is to cover up all the areas that we don't want painted and get the yellow stripes on there. So what I like to do on that is I like to lay my tape, my paper towel down, and starting with the top, we're going to find out where it needs to go. So it looks like on that, the yellow is halfway between the pitot tube here and that leading edge. So what we're going to do is we're going to end up putting a piece of tape. That is going to be our yellow line. So since we have extra, I'm just going to let it continue around to the bottom. Press that edge there and the bottom edge. I'll put a paper towel on it that way, or down on the other side when we get to that point. Same for up here. Paper towel. We got, it looks like it is just this little sliver of tail section right here. So we're going to press the tape on there. We have a little bit of extra. Get this lined up where it's at. I need a little bit more tape, so we're going to use the back side. And there we go. Now that one's done. Now we got the top. So the top I'm going to do a little bit different. The top I'm actually going to lay the piece of tape on there first and then put paper towel on afterwards, because it's really hard to keep these where they need to be. And then it also has this little double edge. Try to get a better fit for that edge. Okay, go to the other side. That looks pretty good. So now I'm gonna cover as much of the airplane as I can, just to make sure that I don't get any yellow where it shouldn't. So that is what I'm gonna do, so I'll get back to you when I'm ready to paint. Alright guys, so here's what's going on. So I've got everything ready to go for some paint. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you don't have anything in the area that is going to end up not wanting to get soaked in paint, because paint sucks. Plain and simple, it gets everywhere. So what I've done is I've covered up everything, majority of what's going to go on. So the things that I got to hit up first are going to be all the bottom. Then I'm going to flip the aircraft over and hit the top. The top has more to cover because you got the vertical that you got to worry about. And so again, always make sure that your colors are what they want to be. They look pretty dang right on. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray away from the tape, light coats, until it has everything hit. So again, away from the tape. Something's hitting over there. We're going to hit the top of that in just a second. So remember, we got tip tanks that are going to go on here too, so don't worry too much about being perfect on the edge. But dang, this is looking really good. I'm really proud of this one. So again, hitting the edging, make sure you get the back end away from back end. And since this is gloss, it's going to take a lot longer to dry, so there's going to be a lot more pause in between the next video. But here we go. Make sure that nothing touches that side. There we go. So one quick look, because I had this flipped over. Okay, looks like everything's still covered pretty good. So continue on, again away from the tape as much as you can. Alright guys, welcome back. This is day 3, which equals about 6 or 7 hours worth of actual working on this airplane. When you last saw what was going on was I had painted the yellow tips on the aircraft. But since then what I've done is I've taken everything off. I've actually remounted the lights back in just with a little bit of the rubber cement, re-glued them in, and attached them back on there. I also did a little bit of just taping off of these little black edges that you can see on the insides, which are the glare resistant look on the aircraft. And I also hit the black right here. So all I did for those items is I just got my tape and just taped everything off and painted it black. And so that's all I've done. The other thing I've done is I've opened up the canopy, the glass in the canopy. So if you look, you can see it looks really good on there. So where we are at now is that the aircraft itself has a silver leading edge to the intakes, and I think the majority of the L39s have that. So if you're going to end up customizing your bird, you're probably going to end up having to re-silver that also. So I'm going to show you my way of doing it on here, and my way is by using, and again I can't remember who it was, whether it was RC Jet Dude or GR Baker. One of those gentlemen out there did a quick view on how to use blue paper towels to line off your stuff and make really quick and easy sharp lines. So that's what I use on there. The other thing that I'm going to use is I'm going to use a silver paint. Again, Rust-Oleum double coat. So what we're going to do is we're going to get it all on there, and then I'm going to grab the rattle can of paint, and then I'm going to paint it off. And so again, what you want to do is you want to isolate as much as you can. So if you got your canopy on there, take it off, set it somewhere else so you don't get paint on it. The less things that are around, the less you're going to have any issues. So one of the things I found is that you want to do several cuts with your round razor blade of just thin pieces. It's easier to work with thinner pieces than thick pieces for doing minor little customizing paint schemes. The other thing is yes, you will use larger pieces that are wet just to kind of cover, but that's easy to do after you get the main lining done. So what I do is I got a ruler, and all we're going to do is with this razor blade, we're just going to cut some strips that are nice and straight. Alright, so here's the trick. You don't want to just completely soak these, you don't want to squish them down or whatnot. So what you do is you just lightly run it over the top. just to get it just a little bit wet, and then light little finger rinse down just so you get rid of some of the moisture off the top. And then you lay it down where you want your line to be. Again, like I said, the smaller the piece, the easier it is to manipulate to where you want it to go. Okay? Don't worry about it getting on your airplane, anywhere else on your airplane. It's water. Water, you know, we just use the water base in the paint. Everything dried last night. So this should be easy to go. So again, just got that in, just setting it on there. A little squeegee out, not a lot out because that's how it adheres. So I'm going to break a piece off and stick it where I want it to go. So again, all we're trying to do is just isolate where you want to paint and where you don't want to paint. The silver I intend on using is called metallic aluminum. The airplane. Okay. Done that. Pull that back off. Start the removal process. That's how you do this silver lining. So hopefully that works out. It looks like it might have bled a little bit, which I've never had happen before. We're going to see what we can do about potentially touching up a little bit of that. Well, anyway, that's how I've done my leading edges. So I'm going to do the other one, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the aircraft dry the rest of the way, so from all the moisture going on there, and then we're going to do our clear coat, and then I'm going to pull off the landing gear and paint them white. So that is it. Alright guys, welcome back. So what I've done next is that I've got the aircraft practically finished. What I've done now is I've actually taken the landing gear, all of the gear off, and I've got them in another room right now. What I've done is I've actually taken all the wheels off, super easy, so that's why I'm not going to show you what I've done on there. Is I've just undone the set screws and the little E-clip on the gear and pulled off all the wheels, so I'm not having to get any paint on them. And I have hung them up and I've sprayed them with gloss white. So easy peasy for anyone to do, no need to show that. However, what I am doing now is I'm going to paint the inside of the wheel wells white. And so what I've done in order to get these wheel wells to be able to be painted or prepped is I lay my frog tape all the way across the aircraft, and what I do is I get the edge of the wheel well pressed down pretty good. We really don't care if the paint comes off on that because it's going to get painted white. And so I've already done it on this one side. You can see that with the razor blade I just felt around with the edge and I just cut out everywhere that I need to make sure that I get the tape off, just so that I can get a nice gloss coat on there. And then what I'm going to end up doing is, so I'm going to get the other one done, and then eventually I'm going to tape off this front door and I'm going to spray paint inside there white also. So for an example, I'm just going to show you a little bit. So all you do is you just press down on it so you can see where it is, find where it is, and then you just follow with a nice sharp razor blade around the foam of the aircraft. And yes, you're going to nick up a little bit of foam, but again, it's all going to get fresh paint put on there. So that being said, I'm going to continue with this all the way down. That easy, guys. Super easy. Looks like I'm going to hit just a little bit more on this outside where the door would be. Just come down and over. Look at that. Nice, easy area. That's going to be easy. We're just going to cut that out. Same for here. I'm going to clean up this other one, this other side, just to make sure we get all of the area that we need squared away. Alright, so that's how it's done. And then you just tape off with your towels around the outside so you don't get any overspray. And there you go. Paint it with gloss white. Okay. Alright, everybody, welcome back. I have now removed the tape after spray painting the landing gear, and so I want you guys to see how easy that was to do. So again, all I did was I wrapped the stripe of tape across it, cut out the holes, and now the whole airplane itself is done. I've got just to wait for the landing gear to end up getting dry, and then I'll be able to install the wheels onto it. And then again, we've got our wheel wells all done, our doors, our sides. So what we can do in the meantime is we can flip this aircraft over and we can get all our decals on. So that'll be the next thing. So that being said, catch you in a second. Hello everybody, welcome back again. Sorry I keep stopping and going, but there's so much time involved in this that it'll just take forever if we don't do quick little blurbs. Alright, so you guys all seen the aircraft that I'm doing, so I still have it up on the screen over here. But anyway, really simple decals that were produced in a great hurry by the great Callie of Cali Graphics. So shout out to you, Callie. Thank you again for all that you do in helping me out and helping Motion RC and all of the guys in this hobby. So thank you. Appreciate everything you do. And so here's my decals. So really simple. All we got is 6, 8, 10, 12 stickers. And so again, this is where that round razor blade comes in handy, alright? So you just kind of hit it up so you can get just a little bit better grasp on where you're actually going to end up putting these decals. Alright guys, well, the aircraft is done. So I've set up both of them up here real quick so you can see them side by side. But anyway, the L39 is good to go. So I've already bound it up. Minor adjustments still need to be happening at the field, but as far as the airplane itself, everything is good to go. So little refresh again. What we did is we ended up we did a brief description of what we need for the build, what we need, then we did an unboxing, we did a build video, we did a prep video, and then eventually we did an airbrushing. We did a paint of gray on the bottom, we did a light airbrush, we did a dark green airbrush, and then we did the yellowing, And the very, very absolute last thing that we'll do is a gloss coating. And the gloss coating is actually going to be none other than Minwax, the polyurethane, fast acting. And so this is what I use. It is the high gloss or clear gloss. This actually works pretty good. I tried some of this a long time ago. It did some yellowing. However, since then, I don't know if they changed their batch or what. No need to show you that, but essentially all I'm going to do is cover the entire aircraft of that. I'm going to do a nice even coat, and then the airplane itself is done. What that'll do is it'll hold all these decals down to where they won't ever come off again. And so, that being said, I'm going to do a quick skim of the aircraft again with the GoPro so you can see everything that I did, and then hopefully you guys end up wanting to do your own birds. And again, here's a nice skim of what we've done. Pretty happy with the results. We've got our landing gear all nice and pretty. We've got our exhaust all done nice and pretty. Gonna flip the airplane upside down, so we'll set her down. Let you see the bottom. We got our nice gloss white intakes, or not intakes, landing gear. We got our pretty gloss. Everything on this aircraft, gorgeous. Did a great job. It was a very simple build, very simple customizing, and there she be. So again, we've got the bird done. You can see in the background what it was supposed to look like and what we got. I'm gonna go hold it up to the screen. So we can see if we came close or what we did. Let's see. There we go. I think we did pretty awesome. So again, that gloss coat is going to make this thing pop. So again, there we go. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to hit me up anywhere on Messenger, Facebook, whatnot. But again, there's the build. Hope you guys all enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It was very fun for me to be able to take an opportunity that was given to me and be able to show the skills, or at least the little bit of craftiness that I have in my life. And there they are. So both of them. And my dirty room now, so can't have two airplanes on the same thing, but there they are. So again, all these are available. Motion RC L39 Albatross. Motion RC, baby. Thanks again.